Who is it?
Hooyo ma joogtaa?
Hooyo Mataalo. She went shopping.
Hooyo markay timaado haba xabiibaa kuu timid ku dheh.
Okay, habo.
Yo, wagwan, assalamu alaikum. Damantina kusoo dawaada and welcome to Hooyo Mataalo podcast. I'm Lee, short for Liban.
I'm Sam, short for Samatar.
And yeah, man, back for episode 4. As you can see, this week we don't have a guest. It's just literally just the two of us.
Just two man up.
Yeah,
that's it. No guest.
Two man up. No
just
guest.
two guys. That's all that's needed today.
So yeah, what's it called? This week what we wanted to do was we wanted to kind of talk about like I'm pretty sure you mentioned before that you were teaching for a short time.
Yeah. So short stint
of teaching and a little bit of mentoring, correct?
Yeah. So we had I had a bit of a mix of both. So I was mentoring actually when I was at during my uni time. So short stint, inner city London school. At a point, it wasn't for long anyways. It was about I'd say about 9-10 months.
But you was mentoring like Somali kids.
Yeah, so
correct?
I was mentoring Somali kids at that time, but that was completely different. But we'll get to the mentoring part after. I think what I'll speak about in the first bit will be about the teaching aspect.
Okay,
and what that was like, what my experiences from that.
Yeah, so what was it like stepping into your first classroom or walking down the corridor? Like, what was it first like?
Yeah, that walk up, that's different. Trust me, it's like, when you're walking up to make your debut for a game. No, it's completely different. Do you know what I mean? You're coming to a class where, you're overseeing. The way I look at it is like, it's like you're delegating to like 28 students or so, right? So you need to overlook them at one point. So 28 kids in a class, packed out, and you're walking in, you've got different types of personalities in a class, you don't know how to deal with them, you're not familiar with them either, right? But what schools tend to do is, and they make it easier depending on what school you're at, they give you like a list of kids, right? And with this list, they give you like a backdrop, or if they got any, I don't know, if they're, let's say, really naughty, or if they're really disruptive in the class, and they tend to always also, for example, highlight if they have any, for example, disabilities or anything that you might not even see. So sometimes it depends on the school. If they really prep you for it and give you the list of students and everything with the picture attached and everything, it gives you a better idea of what you're going into rather than just being blindsided and you're coming from an angle you don't even know who you're coming across. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With me, it was totally different. Like I said, inner city school, and you know how it is.
I want to know more about like when you were first like stood there, all of these faces like looking at you. Like, what is going through your head? Like, you 28 or 20 kids looking at you. Like, are you nervous at this point? Or
yeah, because do you know what it was, right? You stood in front of a whole class, right? And in your head, you're thinking, okay, how am I going to start this off? Like, what's the first words going to be? Do you know what I mean? What's my reception going to be like? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's exactly what it is. So you think, what's your reception going to be like? How are they going to take me on? Do you know what I mean? But to be fair, I'm pretty laid back anyways in terms of the way I go about things anyway. So I took a pretty calm approach, I'd say, with them, and just eased it in rather than just saying, okay, here's the house rules, this is the way I like to do things and everything else. Rather than doing that, I just, eased in and whatnot, got to know them a bit in the first 10 to 15 minutes. So you get to see, you feel the vibe, what it's like and 100%. How they are. You can already spot, don't get me wrong, you can spot 2-3 people, kids already that are disruptive. Instant, man. You know how it is.
100%.
Some of them like
what I want to know about is like your interactions like with the Somali students. Like
so like I said, inner city school, you tend to have loads of Somali kids anyways, but especially in this school, you had loads of Somali kids at the school, and especially the class I had about 7 to 8, which is quite a lot anyways in a class. So I had 7. And it was totally different because the moment they first saw me, it was like, oh, we've got a Somali teacher. Like that's the way I came across to them anyways. Some of them even said, oh, Malim, how are you? What's your name? And obviously you prefer, so you know how it is, you put your name on the board and everything else so everyone knows.
So you're keeping it professional at this point.
Yeah, you keep it professional. This is Mr. Do you know what I mean? So that's exactly how it is, and that's the. Yeah, you get different reception, especially when it comes to the Somali kids.
So there's no
No. What are no. You don't.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
man,
you
I'm
can
kidding.
crack some jokes with them. Don't get me wrong, they're jokers anyways. You know how Somali kids are. But it depends on the class, different vibe and whatnot. But at the same time, you got to be careful. And the reason I say you got to be careful is because they can't get too comfortable with you either. Because then when they want to get too comfortable, they want to get away with certain things.
100%.
And what you can't do in the class is you can't give preferences over one kid over the other. So that's the thing, regardless if they're Somali or not. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, I know where you're coming from. At the same time, you see yourself in them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, the thing is, I'm seeing that kid in the class. I'm like, you know what? That looks like me when I was in year 9. Do you know what I mean? That's how I went about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't say disruptive, but like, you're not paying attention at the same time. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
Which is, equally as bad at times.
Yeah,
Do you know
and
what I mean?
there was one point in it where you went back to the school that you attended, like as a teacher, for a bit.
Yeah.
So, like, what was that like?
Yeah, that was even bigger. That was different. You got the nostalgia and everything else. Like, you're really reminiscing, saying. I even said to one of the kids in the class, I said, you know what? By the way, this is the room I used to sit in. Like, this is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're all laughing at me anyway, saying, "Well, sir, you used to sit here yourself." I'm like, "Nah, literally, that's the seat I used to sit in. That's the area and whatnot." But another thing is going to the staff room, because we went to the same school, right? You've never seen the staff room, right?
I don't think I have.
Yeah, you've never seen the staff room. So I've actually went in there, and then there's loads of different teachers and everything else. They see me there, and like I said to you, some of those teachers actually said to me, like, "Oh, we never thought you were gonna go into teaching. Oh, we never thought, It was a mixed reception anyways, because don't get me wrong, I never left on a bad note. I wouldn't say I left on a bad note, but it's more to do with the fact that they're always surprised of having a former pupil come back to the school and everything else. So it's a bit different for them anyways.
Yeah, I remember times I was with you, like whether it's us coming back from football and then going to grab something to eat, and like just like there were a couple kids one time that were like, yo, they're looking at you funny, innit? And I'm saying, yo, look at them kids, like they're watching you. Like, I don't know why they're watching you, but you're saying, yeah, like they went to the school.
Yeah, they went to the school. Now it was jokes. I'm not gonna lie to you, because with me, anyways, is I'm wearing a trackie.
Yeah.
That's the way I go about it. Anyways, I'm just chilling. We're literally grabbing some food, and what happened at that point was across the road there was a student I had in my class, Somali student. Right?
It's Mr.
Yes, shouting from sir.
Yeah.
And then he said to his mom, "Oh, by the way, that's my teacher." And then she was like, she looked at me, and the look. That's why I looked like, that's not, yellow sock or whatever it is. That's the way she probably looked at it. But it wasn't the case, obviously. That is a kid in my class and whatnot. But it's funny. But I get all the time. I don't know whether it's being around the view, but I know when I'm with different types of guys all the time, I had them coming up to me all the time and say, "Sir, how are you?" Or some of them even say, "Alan," But like I said, it's a respectful thing, anyways. It's totally different.
100%, 100%. I get that. So, what was it like? Yo, obviously you've explained, like, you're telling this kid, yo, like, that's the seat I used to sit in, but you used to walk through them same hallways with your big backpack, and now you're walking through just in your in your lanyard and your
you got the lanyard on, you got the shirt, you're walking around, you're reminiscing about the old times. Do you know what I mean? It's totally different, obviously. Like I think in one of the, I'm trying to remember what place it was, anyways, but there's a old picture of the S7 football team.
Yeah.
And I remember because I was in it and I'm on the picture. Do you know what I mean? Bad quality picture anyways, but you just seen, obviously, I know it's me, obviously. And I'm seeing myself there. I'm telling the kid, "Oh, by the way, that's me," And like, no way. Like, it's just that flashback that you're having. Even when you walk through the hallways, it's like you're thinking back, okay, this is what it used to be like. But it's totally different to where we went. Like, it's more diverse now compared to when we went to the school.
Yeah.
It's predominantly more white students back then. Now it's there's predominantly probably ethnic minorities, I'd say, that are in the school. Totally different. Really calm as well, by the way. It's not like before where every lunchtime, every break time, there's a fight.
Yeah.
No, there's no such thing. I barely saw any. It was literally everyone's laid back, more calm. Do you know what I mean? And it's totally different. It depends. I don't know.
I can imagine. And obviously, you know, like how we've mentioned, obviously in the previous episodes, how we used to have a Somali teacher,
Yeah.
and like what that did for you, like for instance, in terms of like having conversations with him and whatnot, and obviously the story about the parents' evening when they're speaking, when he's speaking in Somali to like your parents and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like, what I wanted to know about you is, like, did you feel like a duty or some kind of like a responsibility to kind of make sure these Somali kids, or you know, like Somali kids are on track, you know,
Yeah.
not misbehaving?
I'd say same way when it comes even to the educational side, not just the behavioral side of things, but honestly, when it comes to even, I know exactly what you mean, because I think Miss Osmond saw us the same way, right? It's like going the extra yard at times and just knowing, saying, you know what, just telling them, for example, oh, by the way, I'm hearing that you're not doing well in that class, for example, right? But the thing is so many more Somali kids than before. So you can't catch all of them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You can only do as much as you can with the ones you have in your classes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're trying to push them on a lot more. That's the thing. That's how I felt like anyways. Like, yeah, I'm not, to be honest, you feel like you got a duty. Like you want them to do great in the classes.
Yeah.
At the same time, you want to make sure that they get the best grades possible. You want to, I say it more about pushing them on. It's about pushing them, you know what I mean? Rather than just seeing someone struggle and just let them be.
Okay. So
And that's what I mean with, you know, having that extra duty at the same time. That's what I felt like.
I get it. So like, what would you say in terms of like, what was it like? Was there any kind of differences or the comparisons like between you and like the other teachers per se? Like, did you have a different style? Like, did you believe that you were finding it easier to I don't know, manage a class, or what would you say the differences were between you and the other teachers?
Yeah, especially when it came to the inner city school, for example. Definitely when it came to my white counterparts, I'd say it's a lot more easy because you understand them a lot more. And when I mean in the class, right, things they see as disruptive, you don't see as too disruptive. They're actually just trying. Do you know what I mean? Whereas anyone else would be like, you know what, they're chaotic, they're trying to take over the class, and that's the way they see it. But if you lay some ground, if you lay some house rules, I'd say, right, if you lay some rules beforehand, and if they see that you're relaxed, you're laid back, but at the same time you're given that mutual respect, I think the way they come across to you, they take you on more than anyone else, because you can't just tell them, don't do that. No, it doesn't work that way, because they're going to be defiant. Do you know what I mean? So what you got to have is, it's like, you know what, if you do this, don't worry, we're going to do this. Or sometimes I just make little deals. Do you know what I mean? You tell them at the end, okay, if you do that, I'll let you read your book for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But that means you're ahead of the work. You've done everything that you needed to do. All this kid actually wants to do is just maybe read a book. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. You just, you know, letting that be. But when it comes to behavioural aspect, definitely I agree with you. Like, for example, I had the head of year, I think it was year 9 or something, right? She came up to me and she was like, oh, how are you able to deal with this particular class? And this was a really disruptive class they had, right? And I was like, oh, this is pretty easy. I was just, you know, the way I got along with them was much easier than maybe someone else did. But the thing is, she, like I said, it's a power struggle that goes on here. That's what I feel like anyways. It's like they want it their way and there's no way kind of thing. Whereas you got to understand where these kids are coming from. They're very diverse. Do you know what I mean? The way they come across is just maybe the way they speak.
Yeah.
It's not in a violent manner or anything. But these things, now it's dangerous because these things then lead to being suspended maybe for 2-3 days. Then it leads to exclusion and so many other things down the path.
So are you saying like the other teachers are, for instance, taking it personal?
Yeah,
like
it's
something.
this is a thing. This is a big thing.
Taking it out of proportion,
yeah,
kind of thing.
No. taking it personal. You cannot take things personal, by the way, because once you take things personal, right, you bring a lot of your own emotions into it, and once you do that, right, you're gonna make certain decisions that you need to bear in mind, of course, that these kids are still young, right? You can't take it personal. I've seen loads of teachers take it personal, and that's it. They're dismissive of that kid until maybe they're in year 11 or anything else. Do you know what I mean? And one of those things, you cannot do that. You cannot let it be personal. Do you know what I mean? And it's very dangerous anyways, because we already got a lack of BAME teachers anyways. So think about it. It's already disproportion of teachers we have. And then at the same time, what happens is they lead these kids then onto being excluded at the same time. So it's like a dangerous pathway. Anyway.
Yeah, do you know what's funny? That's funny that
Yeah.
you say that, because like there's a lot of people that have made it, or like, I don't know, the rappers, athletes, or just anybody who's made it in any profession yet. They always say, my teacher said I wouldn't be nothing. You know, like
Yeah,
they
but
always
I
refer back
believe
to
them
that.
though.
Yeah, they always
Do you know
refer
what I
back to
mean?
that. Yeah.
It happens all the time, because a lot of those teachers took it personal, because I believe that particular student then said something to them, and the way they responded back was in a way of, okay, you know what, this kid, I hate him. I hear it all the time, by the way, and stuff. You know, I hate this kid. I hate that. You know, I don't know what. They actually take it personal. So you hear all this chat, anyways, in the staff rooms, right? So they actually take it really personal on a lot of these kids. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, like I said, you cannot take it personal. You got to find a way of going about it. Do you know what I mean? And it's one of those things. It's tricky. That's what it is.
Okay, makes sense. Okay, I kind of wanted like to move on a little bit towards the mentoring aspect. Yeah,
Mhm.
because like I find that really interesting, because like how do you like step into a room and kind of talk to a kid and find like a common ground? Like, how do you do that?
Yeah. So let me give a little bit of a background on it. How it all
For them to
started.
kind of like open up, like how do you get them to open
definitely. I know what you mean. I'll give you, like I said, I'll give you a little bit of background on how I first started, right? One of my lecturers asked me to go a mentor, right? And the reason was, I didn't understand at first. I was thinking, what's the reason? Why do you want me in particular to mentor? But he was like, you know what? We feel like you fit the right profile in order to help these kids, right? And what happened was, I said, okay, fair enough. You know what? Let me go forward with it anyways. Went to the school, and they gave me 10 Somali kids, right? From year 8 till year 11, it was. I had a variety of them anyways. The thing is, not every kid is the same. You cannot brush them all. The thing is, some kids, you know, when you think, oh, this kid's a bit weird. No, they're just a bit different. But
Yeah.
it's just that the way you look at them is like, but it's just that they need time to open up, right? So the way it worked was, okay, we got sessions now. It's about 45 to an hour each. It's on a weekly basis, right? Now, the thing is, with these kids, right, you cannot have them, they will not open up to you in day one. It don't work like that. Do you know what I mean? It takes time in order to create a relationship.
Okay.
And for them to be comfortable enough to open up to you.
Okay.
And these things can range from, you know, from personal problems that they have in terms of bullying all the way up until, you know, problems at home. So it really depends on how comfortable they really are with you. Do you know what I mean? At the same time. And you must be thinking, okay, well, how did this take place?
Okay.
Now, the thing is, the way it was in a room, it was like, you can call it like a therapy session. Do you know what I mean? They're sitting in front of me, got like a little checklist of them. And this is the thing, you got like a checklist and all these things, you're going point by point, right? And it leads them into a certain path where they can respond to you in a certain way. And then you figure out, okay, this is then due to this, or this could be due to maybe problems at home or whatever that might be. But more importantly, the bond that you create is very important, because the better the bond, the more they're able to have a free-flowing conversations. Do you know what I mean?
All right.
And the way I worked with them a lot of the times is I set them short-term goals with certain objectives that I want them to meet. And once they meet that, we go on to the next thing. Because bear in mind, I think it was 4 of those kids, right? They're on the brink of being excluded. and the rest were just behind on work, like really behind. So imagine being 4 of those kids being on the brink of being excluded. You got the schools to prison pipeline already there, right? That we're trying to prevent, because once you're excluded, they send you to a PRU, people referral units, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with those, but they're like those type of schools where you've only got a limited range of subjects.
Yeah.
You know, they just probably give you the.
I know exactly what you're talking
You know
about.
what I mean, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like we had probably a few around in the area. Now, the thing is, I spoke earlier about when I said to you, remember, little things can bring you to being excluded.
Yeah.
From, being seen as being able to be seen as confrontational with the teachers, which can lead you to little things, or being on report, then being suspended, etc., to the end being excluded, right?
And that happens when a teacher takes something, like, for instance, personal.
Yeah,
shouldn't
like
be
I
taken
said,
personal.
then it goes on and on and on. Whilst you've got the duty of care to make sure that this kid succeeds, right? At the end of the day, that's what you're there for. But the thing is, when you're permanently excluded, especially, right, it's really tough, because this kid then goes onto the roads.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Then what's left?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Do you know what I mean?
No, but I want to know more about, like, the one-on-one sessions. Like,
Yeah.
how are you really getting this kid to like open up? What are you talking about? All the topics, like.
Yeah, no, I'll give you an insight. Some of them you could talk to about football.
Okay.
But don't get me wrong, some of them are not even interested in football either. So you're thinking, where am I finding these commonalities, right?
Yeah.
So what you're doing is you're asking them about what's your family like. You're delving into the family dynamics, what it's like, what kind of responsibilities am I having in the household. Do you know what I mean? It's personal questions that are around, right? It's really personal at times. So what happens is they get more and more, they open up a bit more. Now, what happens now is you're also building a relationship with the mother or the father.
Yeah.
Like, you're calling them up, say, you know what? They're aware, of course, there's a session going on, but you tell them, you know what? He feels so and so. Are you able to help them out doing this? Building their confidence, I'd say. And then what happens is they'll be like, okay, you know what? We'll take that on board. A lot of them are very open in those when it comes to the parental aspect of things. But you feel like when you're mentoring, you're like, I wouldn't say a parent, obviously, but like in between a brother and that, because you're taking a load on yourself too. Don't get me wrong. Because at the end, you want them to succeed, right?
100%.
So when it comes to the mentoring aspect, it's tricky, because once you build that bond with them, right? They, for example, I had times when they were like, oh, can I have your number, for example? We can, message each other. But then, of course, you got to be reluctant, because safeguarding policies and everything else. So I've got to tell them, you know what, I can't do those things. But what I will do is, instead is, I will give you maybe an extra 30 minutes during the week, so we can meet up again, we can talk about little things here and there. And then you do see a change after 2 to 3 months. It takes time, like I said. It's not, the process takes a bit of time. Do you know what I mean? Same way with Arsenal. The process takes time. You know what I'm saying? The process takes time.
Oh God, don't try it.
But process takes time. So with the whole point is that they give you a profile too, of course, of each kid.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Of emotional unstable, etc. All these other things. So you gotta be really careful. I'm not gonna lie to you. At the beginning, I was thinking, what am I even doing here? What can I give them that is beneficial? But what you need to realize is that where you are in your life at that time, you're still probably, at that time I was still at uni.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm way ahead of them at that point. So you can always give something back to them. That's something key. You can always do something back to them, and the whole point of mentoring is for you to prevent from them to go on to probably the roads. That's something that everyone's trying to prevent.
So
you know what I mean?
I'm assuming you're obviously just like mentoring males, like
I'm mentoring her because there was another girl with me. She was doing all the girls,
which would make sense.
Girls,
Yeah.
And some of them are even siblings, and that's the thing. So you have a siblings, and then you think, okay, so is this maybe something where you need to bring the parents a bit more, because you've got 2 kids now?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Rather than with just one. So the good thing is that school is pretty good because they used to bring in the parents for like tea break or coffee, you know, like where they used to come in and talk. And then it gives you the opportunity to talk to the parents too. And you can give them your feedback and say, you know what, I think you should do this and this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Are
then
you ever like, was there ever sessions like where this kid would open up to the point where they're telling you problems that like you can't do anything about at all?
There's loads of times where they're opening up where there's things that are
Like issues, I don't know, within the household.
At home, 100%.
Yeah.
There's issues at home. You cannot get yourself involved, of course. And then and then I have to discuss, obviously, with the higher ups and say, you know what, this is, you know, is a sensitive issue.
Isn't that? But how does that not weigh on you?
Yeah,
like,
it
for
does,
instance?
because you're, like I say, you're taking on a load. Do
Mm.
you know what I mean? And then it's always going to be in the back of your mind, even though you've left this place at this point. But you think, okay, this is the person's taking on this and this. Don't get me wrong, it's not think crazy like abusive, you know, parents and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? But it's like to do with probably other things that's going on, and it's tough at times when you got overcrowded house too, right? You know, when you have no one, sometimes you don't feel like anyone's paying attention to you. You know, at that age, you need someone that gives you attention, always.
100%.
Because when someone gives you attention, it's a bit easier. But if no one gives you that attention, you're just part of the furniture.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
You need like an invested interest.
Yeah, you need someone that gives you that extra energy, you know, be emotionally available for you. That's what you always need that.
100%.
Do you know what I mean?
Whether that's a father taking
Whether
you
it's
to
a father
Sunday
taking you
league
on to Sunday league
games every Sunday.
which is Somali house was a myth anyways. But you know what I'm saying? Probably the new generation are a bit different, but of us especially was a myth. You're not seeing that. No, I mean that's a myth. What, you're there being on the sideline watching your game? No,
it's not even a laughing issue.
it's
Yeah,
not.
but,
It's sad, but
but we can laugh
yeah,
about it
you
now.
gotta laugh about them things. It's sad,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, no,
it's one of those ones.
100%. But do you reckon like that would have helped you, for instance, now if something like that was available when you were in school, like and younger, like in terms of like some kind of mentoring scheme similar to that? Do you reckon that would have helped you, or for example your peers at that time, like some of your friends maybe, like if something like that was available?
Yeah, 100%. Because you need to realize that you can relate to them in a way that, for example, they're like, okay, he's an older Somali guy, for example. He knows what it's like in our household, that, you know what I mean? Like, what it's like. It's way more easier to open up. Like I said to you, by the second month, a lot of them open up. A lot of them are way more comfortable. They're telling you, even though you're walking down the hallways, they're coming up to you, saying, by the way, can I ask you this. So it becomes a lot more, I'd say the bond has been created now, right? So they really, really trust you. And this is a big thing. Let me emphasize trust.
Yeah.
Trust is a big thing. So once they trust you, they're able to, you know, come to you for things. Do you know what I mean? But I feel like if I had that at that time, and maybe if you needed that too at that time.
Yeah, I reckon that would have helped.
Yeah, I think everyone needs it, to be honest. You know, in order to be guided, I'd say, in a positive way. Because then you're able to open up and talk about whatever you want to talk about. So much more easier.
100%.
I think everyone deep down inside needed that anyways.
Yeah, it's I don't know, man. It's kind of like looking back. I reckon it would have helped a lot of men that we grew up with. Well, like in.
I feel like there was loads of smart guys we grew up with, right? However, the thing was that if they were just guided properly, that they would be able to do a lot more. Like, I felt like a lot of their talent was wasted on dumb things.
100%.
You know what I mean? And it always seems to be the smartest people most of the time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Maybe it's because they're bored. Do you know what I mean? But once you guide them in the right path, they're able to excel.
100%.
So I feel like I agree with you. I think a lot of those people, it could have been prevented from a lot of things. Do you know what I mean? So, but then again, now there's another thing, right? A lot of things nowadays. What happens is you got a lot more Somali communities that come into these schools, and they do little workshops, which is great. So they do these workshops in order to prevent these kids now from going to, like we said earlier, schools to prison pipeline and everything else. They're there to create awareness at the end of the day, right? They do little workshops. I know one of my friends does that. He goes throughout all these schools in London anyways, and goes and, does little activities with the kids in school and builds morale and everything else. So we never had those things. But now there's a lot more things in place to help these kids.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But in a sense, wouldn't you say like these schemes and like what you're doing here is wouldn't you say it's low key kind of like extras? Like it kind of starts at home first, and the rest of this is like extras.
Yeah, it starts at home first because maybe, I don't know, there's some neglect going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta be honest. The thing is, some parents, they just throw their kids to the school and think that's a job done.
Yeah,
But it doesn't work like that.
100%.
You gotta be a lot more active and be involved. And don't get me wrong, a lot of those Somali moms are really involved. Like, you should see it. Like, they come to these extra, sessions and really take in what the curriculum is about, and that way they're a lot more educated about what the school, I think being educated about the curriculum is really important, because it allows them to help their kids out a lot more, rather than just throwing them to tuition. When they're just throwing tuition, they just say, hey, take my kid, teach them.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work like that. You gotta be really attentive at the same time. You gotta, there's a lot of things that go into it. But like I said, I think a lot of parents have learned from that. It's a new generation at this point.
Do you know what would be interesting? What would be interesting if we kind of brought on like a parent or someone to kind of like give their kind of perspective on this?
Yeah, 100%.
So
I agree with you on that point.
Like, I kind of think we should low key kind of cap this here, like, or because that would be that would be we could leave a lot for that episode. Yeah,
I think that'd be great. We can have a bit of a more of an insight.
Because this week, to be honest, like it was a bit of a filler. Like we kind of had a guest planned, but it just didn't work out. So we had to go in a different direction.
Yeah, different direction. But at the same time, it's one of those ones where we did want to go onto this path of talking about mentorship.
100%.
And the importance of it. But at the same time, we will definitely be giving an insight on the other side of maybe the parental side of things.
Because I think that's more really important. I think that's more important. If anything,
we can only speculate on certain things
100%
to a certain extent.
Yeah,
I feel like when you have a parent that understands what goes on, and what the needs are, that they can give us a better insight rather than us, like I said, just speculating over.
And has been like actively involved, raising, like kids for 20 plus.
Literally, definitely. Yeah, I agree with you on that.
So yeah, man. We should kind of like, I'd say
capping this,
cap it there. So like, share, subscribe, and hopefully we should have a guest on next week, inshallah.